Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are starting a new series here. I'm calling it Express Deck. So we're going to take a look at the most budgety of budget decks that I can cobble together and give a rundown on what makes them tick as quickly as possible. These are all decks under $25 and bracket 2, although the synergy makes it hard. I think maybe 2.5. Anyway, let's take a look at our first one. We're going to start out by looking at Bloomburrow and some of the commanders from that set. Bloomburrow was an interesting and beloved set for a lot of reasons. First, the themes were fantastic, there was a lot of fun, and the mechanics were just a knockout. I think it's the best set that's come out in the last few years. What's important here is that it gave unusual kindred types a chance to shine and had the mechanics to back them up. Each dual color pair has its own kindred type, and a commander to go with that kindred type, and that's what we're covering in the first 10 episodes of this are going to be each dual color pair and the kindred type that goes with it and the commander for that kindred type. First of all, we're looking at the rakdos, and that's lizard. So we've got Gev is the rakdos lizard commander, and he's an interesting one, so let's take a look. This is Gev Scaled Scorch. He is the lizard kindred commander, the rakdos option from Bloomburrow. Bloomburrow, I guess lizards are rakdos, which kind of makes sense, I think. Anyway, he is a black and a red for this 3/2. As I said, lizard mercenary. Ward, pay 2 life. Other creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each opponent who lost life this turn. The number of opponents, not the amount of life they lost. Whenever you cast a lizard spell, Gev deals 1 damage to target opponent. So you can deal 1 damage to an opponent every time you cast a lizard spell, but the +1/+1 counter ability, that's for any creature. It is not all dependent on lizards, just that one thing. We are going to look at his abilities now. First up, Ward, pay 2 life. Pretty weak. Even as Ward goes, Ward is not popular. Ward, pay 2 life kinda doesn't really do anything until, I guess, very late game it might. Almost not worth having, honestly. Next, we'll jump to his third ability. So whenever you cast a lizard spell, he does 1 damage to target opponent. So it's limited to opponents, and it's only when you cast a lizard spell. Just having like a lizard token enter will not do this. You have to cast a lizard spell. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind. This is a cast trigger as well. So first of all, it is not an ETB. The lizard has to be cast, as I said. Second, even if the spell's countered, it's still cast. So you will still do 1 damage if someone counters one of your lizard spells, which might be a handy thing to keep in mind. Finally, we'll talk about his second and most complicated ability. Other creatures you control enter with a +1/+1 counter on them for every opponent that has taken damage this turn. Probably +3/+3. If you're playing a 1v1 commander match, this is not the commander for that. Having a variety of direct damage effects allow all of your creatures to enter with a pile of counters to buff them up. That's what we really want. But keep in mind, this is a replacement effect, so it will happen before ETBs. Things like impact tremors, where when the creature enters, all of your opponents take 1 damage. That will not help that creature. The next creature you cast, though, will get all of those +1/+1 counters. So we still want to have impact tremors. It just doesn't help the first creature, unfortunately. Note that the effect is not limited to lizards. So this is a lizard commander, but don't get hung up on that. This only counts for the damage effect, not for the +1/+1 counters. Any creature entering the battlefield under your control will get these +1/+1 counters. So that can be something very useful in the deck as well. The deck price is currently $23.33. If it's higher, you might want to jump on Moxfield and update to cheapest to see if you can get the price down on that. But the main objective is to have as many ways to get damage racked up on your opponents to bring them down, and then use your big creatures to just stomp them. As I said, the deck list is on Moxfield, and you can find a link to it in the description. Let's look at part 2, the key cards. So we're going to first look at ramping and fixing. Important in every deck, something Rakdos is not particularly good at though. Next up, we're going to look at damage. Racking up that damage is pretty key in this deck for sure. And then we'll look at some of the important cards in the deck in the next section. First up, we are going to talk about ramping and fixing. This is a rakdos budget deck, so this is not the fanciest part of the deck. But we've got Soul Ring, tap to add 2 mana, standard. Also standard Arcane Signet, useful to have, but pretty boring. Wayfarer's Bauble, once again. Yeah, sure, basic land, why not? We've also got Flame Cash Gecko for 1 and a red, and when he comes in, he gives you a black and a red on entering. So basically, he refunds you your mana so you can cast another thing. He also has 1 and a red to discard a card to draw a card. Really important in this deck because you want to keep having access to all of your cards. And finally, Pit of Offerings. This is one I put in like every deck. It enters the battlefield tapped, and you can exile up to 3 target cards from graveyards, and then tap for the color of the cards exiled. Yeah, so it's graveyard hate land. You just can do so much for that, and can tap potentially for any color of mana, depending on what you exile. Alright, now we are going to talk about racking up damage. Very important in this deck. We've got Spitfire Lagak for 3 and a red. This is a 3/4 landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, this is going to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So, play a land, play your creatures, everything gets +3/+3. You're golden. Impact Tremors. Next up, we talked about this before, but 1 and a red for this enchantment. Whenever a creature you control enters, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that first creature is not going to benefit from this, unfortunately. But yeah, every creature after that will. And damage is always nice to have as well in this deck. Hissing Iguanosaur for 2 and a red. This is a 3/1, and whenever another creature dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. A lot of flexibility there. It's not creatures you control, just any creature dying means you get to deal damage to an opponent or their planeswalker. So that can be useful in a whole bunch of ways. Next up, we've got Fiery Confluence for 2 red. This is sorcery. Choose 3, you may choose the same mode more than once. So you're going to deal 2 damage to each opponent. You can do that 3 times for 6 damage, or you can deal 1 damage to each creature. You can do that 3 times. Remember, if your creatures have +3/+3, that's basically a one-sided board wipe, right? Your creatures will all survive, and theirs will mostly die. So hey, good stuff. Also, you can destroy up to 3 artifacts, which just nice utility there. And Bastion of Remembrance. So 2 and a black for this enchantment. So you get to make a 1/1 human when it enters. We don't care about that too much. And whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So anything you cast after combat can potentially, get all your +1/+1 counters. And you get to play pretty fast and loose with this out as well. Part 3, on to the important cards. Cards that really make the deck tick is basically what we're looking at here. Removal, always good to have. Chaos Warp. For 2 and a red, this instant allows you to put any permanent someone else controls back into their deck. They shuffle and then they look at the top card of their deck. And if it is a permanent card, they get to put it straight into the battlefield. If it's not, it goes to the graveyard. Bit of a gamble, but whatever you're taking out is probably going to be much more useful than whatever they get back out. And we've got Viashino Heretic for 2 and a red. This is a 1/3, not a lizard, sadly. For 1 and a red, you can tap it, destroy target artifact another player controls, and they take damage equal to its casting cost. A great way to not only destroy artifacts, but potentially rack up some damage on other players to get those +1/+1 counters. Hugely underrated card. Consumed by Greed. 1 black. You can gift a card. So target opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power they control. Always going to be a headache. And yeah, if the gift was promised, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is also going to be removal recursion, which is a great combo. Brotherhood's End, 1 red for this sorcery. It deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. We don't care much about artifacts in this deck, so just wiping out everyone's, particularly their mana rocks are going to be mana value 3 or less, so good thing to have. Next up is Decree of Pain. 6 black. This is expensive, but destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Yeah, so you're going to have this huge card draw option, which is actually what we're talking about next, is more card draw. And when you cycle the Decree of Pain, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. So for 3 black, give everything -2/-2, which is probably going to leave your creatures alive and theirs gone, right? Because hopefully you've got +3/+3 on all of your stuff, so -2/-2 is not a big deal. Now we're going to look at some card draw options, which is very important in this deck because we want to just keep pumping out creatures and things like that. Fireglass Mentor is black and a red for this 2/1. At the beginning of your second main phase, if an opponent lost life this turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them, you may play that until end of turn. Remember, it says play, so if it's a land you want, you can get that too. Very nice little thing. And most likely they're going to be taking damage. That's not a big condition in this deck. Also, it's a lizard. Nice little bonus. Next up we have Lastfang Jasper Flint. He's 1 black-red, rakdos again. For this 4/3, he's kind of a big boy. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to other types. Kind of only a thing he does in this deck, but... So at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of a target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among them. Those cards, mana spent can be mana of any type, blah blah blah. Anyway, basically, remember, outlaws, there's him as a rogue and your commander. So you're going to be exiling at least 2 and being able to cast things from other people's libraries. You can't steal their land, unfortunately, but still, it is something to, if you just want to get more creatures down, they will do that. Next up is Morbid Opportunist, one of my favorites. 2 and a black for this 1/3. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, draw a card. This triggers only once each turn, but it doesn't say creatures you control. Any creature in the game dies, you get to draw a card every single time. Potentially 4 per round. That's actually pretty crazy. Theater of Horrors, 1 black-red for this enchantment. So at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent has lost life this turn, you may play lands and cast spells from among them, exiled with Theater of Horrors. And for 3 and a red, it does 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Probably don't want that, but it's a nice option to have, I guess. The card draw is huge, though. I guess it's not really card draw. Card exile is still very good. And Pact of the Serpent. 1 black. Choose target creature type. Target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of that type. So you can use this to draw yourself a bunch of cards and lose some life. Or you can use this against someone else to make them lose life and draw cards. If you're playing against like a squirrel deck or something, they probably just have a whole pile of those squirrels. You're going to cast this and this might just take them out of the game altogether. So yeah, this could be like opponent removal. Finally, this is a kindred deck, so let's talk some kindred bonuses. We got Gathering Stone for 4 mana. This artifact allows you to choose a creature type when it enters, probably lizard. All of those creatures are going to have -1 casting cost, colorless only, sadly. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you can look at the top card of your deck. If it's a lizard card, you can put it into your hand, and if it's not, you can decide to put it into your graveyard. So either card draw or card sorting. Very useful little thing there. Next up, we got Valley Flamecaller for 2 and a red. This is a lizard warlock, so it's a lizard. That's nice. So if a lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control would deal damage to a opponent or player, it deals that much +1 instead. Going to really add up there. And Shared Animosity. This is something, if you can get this in a kindred deck, get it, right? You need red for 2 in a red, this enchantment says, whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. So if you've got a bunch of lizards down, they each get bonuses equal to the number of lizards. Like, oh boy. Icon of Ancestry for 3 mana, another artifact. When it enters, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, so another +1. You're up to +4/+4 on your creatures, probably, right? And for 3, you could tap, look at the top 3 cards of your library, reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them, and put it into your hand. Just more card draw options. Especially, you can wait until like right before your turn and do this, and then just untap the land, right? Finally, Crippling Fear. I love this card. 2 black. Choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't of the chosen type get -3/-3. So you're pretty much just going to like blow up everything that isn't a lizard. Even your own things that aren't lizards might have +3/+3, so they'll probably survive, right? Very nice little combo there. Anyway, this has been Gav's Scaled Scorch. Please hit like and subscribe.